Tonight on Gray Flannel Suits, we continue our interview with Chris Evans, owner of Sangiovese Restaurants. Musical talent DJ Iron Lime joins the conversation. And I'm your host, Daniel Sammons.
I know you've learned some things along the way. We've talked about that. All right. So I'm going to give you one of your ventures. And I don't know all of them. I know a few of them. But I'm going to give you one of your ventures, and you tell me the most valuable thing you learned from that venture. You ready?
Oh, I like it.
Okay. So starting with Village Kitchen in Broderpool, and this was back 2006.
I learned when something is not working to move forward. Move past it, move forward. We sold it. Fortunately, we didn't lose any money, but it was... I was also fine to lose the money I put into it because I said, this is not one. I'm not passionate about it. Just move forward.
That's strong. That can be applied a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it's the same thing in the restaurant, DJing and so forth. It's sometimes you think that those Brussels sprouts are the best things you ever made, and your grandmother loved them, and all your friends think it's the best thing, and you just don't execute it. Just don't order them anymore. Just move past it. There's other things you can do. For whatever reason, you should be able to execute it, but you just don't. Yeah. Just move past it. It's and the energy trying to repair something that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Maybe it's the wrong corner. I don't know. You are a great chef, and your restaurant didn't work, and it failed. Maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe it was you. Maybe it was your audience. Maybe it was both. But it was just pick up and move on. Wipe your wounds clean and put a Band-Aid and go.
Okay. Love that. By the way, that's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
Get the ego out of the way.
Get the ego out of the way.
Mm-hmm. There's so many songs where I tell my wife this is going to be a banger, and I'm hyped up, and I play nobody dances, and I'm like, okay, I will not be going down this rabbit hole. So I say this. I tell DJs, save an arrow in your quiver. When you see that dance floor is dead, you better throw out some Snoop Dogg or somebody that's popular. Everybody knows, like, just work the crowd. You'll get them back.
To bring them back.
They have no confidence in your ability to be up in that DJ booth. So just put your ego aside. It's not working. And give them what they want.
But you get to feel that energy.
I do.
To feel that energy, like...
It's gotta be amazing.
Because I've never felt it. I've, walked on a stage before, and I felt, pretty cool. Yeah. But, to be there, playing with people's minds, because that's what you're doing.
You're controlling the whole emotion.
100%. And it could be a club with 50 people, a club with thousands of people. It has to be pretty cool. I don't know.
It's nice. It can be.
Yeah, it's nice.
It can be addictive.
It's got to be more than nice.
It can be like cocaine when you're up there and you're hungry for it when you don't DJ after quite some time due to a global pandemic.
Yeah.
So I was just telling my wife, I said, I need to put my energy somewhere else. I can't DJ. I can, but if it gets on Instagram, I'm going to get a fine. So, let's do what we got to do.
So, Chris, leading back to the two more that I do know about, there might be more, but Mimi Blues, what'd you learn? Most valuable lesson from that?
To me, it was, and Mimi Blue is still out there, not involved. It's growing. I learned a lot of things of self-inflicted mistakes. I learned partnerships that don't work. I should say personalities that don't work. Great concept. I worked on that for 2 years with the partners in that, and I learned things as somewhat a young, I shouldn't say naive, but a young person that trusts too often. I'm a guy, if I shake your hand, that's better than a signature. That's better than a contract. It's just who I am. Not everybody's that way, and I'm not saying that's not who they are, but I learned things that didn't work for me, we opened it on Mass Ave. Great location, great concept. It exceeded our expectations. Huge, but it was just a thing where I said, I could care less how much money this makes me. I don't like working with my partners. It doesn't mean I don't like my partners, but I don't like working with them. And we separated. They're crushing it. They're doing great. They've opened other locations, so I'm super happy for them. But I learned things to where if you are of the mindset that wants to do something, sometimes you might maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not a good partner. Maybe I like to be in control and play the fiddle or something. But life is too short to have a bad partnership. So we both moved on, and it was good, and I love seeing their success. I hope to see them all over the country soon because it's a concept that could do that. But I said money doesn't motivate me. Yes, I have to live a good life. However, it's not. It gave me a headache, and it was just within the partnership.
Okay. So, I mean, would you agree with the statement that you go into business with people that it's kind of like a marriage? Like marriage, right? Like when you marry somebody, you got to make sure you can make good decisions together. You have each other's backs. You are aligned almost, hopefully 100% of the time. Would you say that that's kind of how a business partnership is?
100%. And the time that I opened that restaurant, it was unique as when I had sold the lease to the original Sangiovese. Sangiovese was originally at 82nd and Dean Road. Sold the lease to the landlord, was working on a new lease to reopen where we eventually went in the Ironworks building. Was also working on this concept with a different partnership, and it was I'm trying to think how you explain it. I was a little bit vulnerable, and that's probably the wrong word, but the correct word, and that I allowed some things to happen that I wouldn't today. However, looking back, those are all steps on the ladder of what I learned. And what I learned I wouldn't do now, but I had to do then. I shouldn't say had to do, but I did do, that I allowed to happen then. And it was, and it's, the biggest thing is like, trust your gut. Know who you work well with. Know who, really that's what it is. It's who you work well with. Because, I mean, nobody wants to go. I just talked to a manager today, and I said, yes, you have to make a living. We've all established that. It doesn't matter where you work. You have to make a living. However, make a healthy living. Go to a place where you like walking in the door. You don't want to dread going to work. Nothing. I got neighbors that do that, and it's like I can't even imagine it. Work is not always great, but it should be majority of the time because you can make that happen. And I guess it wasn't great for me. I don't know. It was doing financially, it was doing great, but it wasn't great for me, and so it was. I learned a lot of things that I would not do moving forward.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
That's some great advice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you end up being happier at work. You can adjust your price point to how you can live and support your family. And then those who say, hey, this isn't for me, you say, that's okay. I have somebody else you can go to, somebody else you can hire, some other restaurant you can go to. But here, I really put my name on it. I put the quality first, and I'm only charging what I feel like is a fair price. You know, some people say, oh, I would not pay that. And I felt like, okay, I lost a few gigs. And to be honest, I was coming up as a DJ. There were nights where I was probably making $150 per night. Now, I have clients who say, hey, you're worth the $2,000, or I have a $5,000 budget. What can you build out for me? Everything can be pure profit if I already own it. If I have to go buy it, now the next time, then they come back the next year, pure profit. So that's where I really try to just say, what you're saying is speaking to me. I made mistakes before, rented stuff, didn't think I could do it, but as I started to grow, I started to find great people who actually want to do a professional event, who actually want to eat good. And I have to say, I was working for a client named Nash, a buddy of me and yours.
Oh.
And we had the most wicked party, and the first place he took me, the first time I ever been to your restaurant, he took me there. He's like, we're going to celebrate this event. And the food and the wine was phenomenal. Like, I think God, I think I was with a guy named Angelo, a photographer named Angelo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we know Angelo.
Yeah.
That was for a fundraiser for a Brainerd. No, it was for. I guess he was running. I'm gonna get killed now.
Yeah, I think
he was
you know
running
what we're talking
for.
about.
She was running for lieutenant governor at the time.
Yeah, it was fantastic, you know. So I just say that your circle becomes a better circle. You start to do like a purification where you're like, okay, these guys aren't really trying to build me up; they're trying to use me. But okay, I did my execution. I'm going to invest in myself. You'll get there, you know. And the same way, it's never a dud unless you just stay there and you're sad. You got to go higher to a better new level and then execute till you hit the next plateau. So,
Love it.
oh, yeah.
It was a fundraiser for Christina Hale, by the way. I just remembered, and it was. I remember the photographer. I remember you being there, and it was. And you controlled the room once again.
Hopefully will.
I think you did.
Well, listen, let's take a quick break. If you could lead us out, and we'll come back to the next section when we learn all about how Chris actually landed Sangiovese and also some of the tricks and trades that he might be able to share with us on how to run a successful business. What's you trying to do?
We trying to talk again or what?
I'm rocking out over here. I don't
Rock it
know.
out. Okay,
I'm
we're rocking
digging
it out.
All right, Chris, give me your best chair dance. Come on, give me your best chair dance. If you had to like show off. Ready, go. Hang on, wait for the bass to drop. Here it comes. All right, get ready. Give me your best chair dance. Oh, yeah, look at him. That's awesome.
This was like Song of the Summer. When we all heard it, we like, yeah, we're going to hear this for about 2-3 years.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one, man. But let me ask you this, man. Like, if you could sum it up, if you could, and maybe let's say 3 of the most important attributes, 3 of the most important attributes for running a successful restaurant, what would the 3 be?
Restaurant or any business, people always say restaurant industry is the toughest industry. We have a high failure rate, which we do. However, I think people always think it's a tough business because it's the opposite schedule of the rest of the world. You still have the same. I mean, if you're a business owner, you work night and day. However, it just happens to be we work on Christmas Eve, we work on New Year's Eve, we work on Valentine's Day, where most people are taking their wives out to dinner and their girlfriends, and we don't. However, you have to be able and willing to work 24/7. You never put your phone down. You find your balance. However, if somebody doesn't show up, do you just not show up as the owner? You have to show up and do every job. But it doesn't matter if it's a restaurant or DJing and you've got a giant group that works for you, or you have to show up. I always joke with people, I am the best busser in that restaurant. If I'm there, I'm sweeping the floors and picking something up.
Leading by example, too.
Somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
We're all there. We're all the same team. It doesn't matter who takes the trash out. Somebody has to take it out. We're busy. Move things. Take plates out. Pick up a dirty plate. Jump behind the bar and make a drink. You have to be able. You have to know your business inside and out, so that God forbid you lose somebody, you know how to do what they do, and then So one thing, work 24/7. 2, have passion for what you do, and work 24/7 a second time. I mean, really, that's what it is. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just you have to be willing to do every single thing. That's what it is. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Yep. Sometimes when I'm working with the guys, they're like, hey, I want to be on this big ticket contract. I said, well, you got to prove yourself on the small tickets. I need to see you hustle for this client as if they are a big ticket client, because if you treat them all the same, you're going to eventually be at a level where they pay more. And so if I'm there and I DJ with a guy and he shows up, he does this, he has the fun, and then he has an excuse and he leaves me with all this equipment to break down, all this equipment to pack up. He doesn't help me do anything. I'm not hiring him. He may not know it, but he just lost thousands of dollars. Because I'm like, okay, you're just here for the fame. You want the Instagram. There's a lot of hustle that has to go to open a store, to open a club, to even load up a vehicle properly like Tetris, to get it to that location on time, an hour and a half early to start that wedding on time. So even today, I probably was bugging you like, hey, noon, can I come by? I need to be here now to set up.
So do you have, between the two of you, do you have some direct reportees? Like, do people report to you?
Every time. I
Okay.
don't care who I send where. I always ask the client, were you happy with that individual I sent to you?
Yeah.
Was it exactly what you felt like you paid for? And the best thing is when my guys get tipped $300, $500. I'm like, you kill that shit. If they're tipping that, you did it right. And I said, and
Yeah.
it comes, people are generous, and I say this with a lot of people put down different levels of society. And I said, no, I said, people want value. They want to know that you don't expect it, but you're going to work for it as if it was coming either way,
How do you make sure that you get the right person for the job? I mean, that's very difficult, right? You can interview, and everybody in an interview, by the way, it's some of them, it's their best day at the job. Some of them, they're going to tell you everything you want to hear, and then you're like, what happened to the person I interviewed? How do you make sure that the team, and this is a big one, that the team, no matter restaurant, computer science, that they perform at the highest level and take ownership? What are some of the keys you guys use for that?
I'll let him go first.
To me, I would say you always hire people. It doesn't matter what position it is, management, staff, or wherever they're at. And you're correct, because people do give the best face you could ever imagine in an interview. They say everything right. They appeal to what they read you and say, oh, this guy likes you to say this or whatnot, and it makes me look better. I'm going to get hired. We hire them. You really don't know for like 3 to 6 months, but you really start to feel it in about 2 or 3 weeks of like, maybe this isn't going to be the right one. I don't know, but I'm getting a feeling. However, maybe I should wait a little while. But you usually find out in like 3 to 6 months, you'll find out people work well with your personality and your team that you have. And it takes a little while.
Yeah? You agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when we first opened Studio 77, me and my business partner, James Miser, we were kind of like Pokemon catchers, trying to catch them all. We went from like 2 DJs up to like 26 DJs within a year. A lot of talent to manage and deal with a lot of personalities. And then eventually we started to see who's the cream of the crop, who showed up, who actually came to an event with everything they needed, who was actually getting a report back. Some guys want to be in the booth and they want to drink away their whole check, and then they overextend themselves, so now they owe $50, and you're being paid quite a lot of money. I'm like,
Sounds like a Blues Brothers
what
movie.
the hell did you drink? So for us, I had a trick. I had a guy in my crew who said, I used to run a motorcycle gang. Oh, we say motorcycle club.
Right. Not a
No
gang,
longer
a
gangs,
club.
Okay.
Right.
This is a very stickler for law enforcement who was listening.
Right.
It's a motorcycle club. He said, and what we do is we have you kind of shadow somebody. So we said, you got to shadow 3 DJs. You got to go to his DJ night, be there when he starts, help him carry his gear in, be in the DJ booth and watch him work the crowd. He's going to give you half an hour to an hour to play. He's going to see how you worked at. He's going to report back to me your strengths and weaknesses. If he says you have an ear for it, you can pick the right music, but you don't have the talent, then we start to train you how to be a true DJ, to beat match and stuff. So that's it. We just say you got to have 3 members of the crew vouch for you and say, I'll go to bat for this kid. This kid has been there in the club for me about a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Then you go to the next DJ. A week, 2 weeks. It may take about 2 months to actually be a full member, but it's kind of like a motorcycle club.
Yeah.
It's all relative. It doesn't matter whether it's a restaurant or any other job. It's you as you build your culture and you are finding things out, and who works out well and who doesn't. I'm bouncing around now as my mind goes, but in social media, we see what our coworkers do, we see what our friends do, and I remember recently a friend, I won't name their names, but they were saying that as the world was going back to the offices, nobody thought they were ever going to go back to an office and work, and she was saying, it's really weird because my coworker, we're about to go back 1 day a week, and she's saying she's not comfortable going back to work. So, well, everybody has their insecurities and their anxieties, and it's fine. She goes, however, we're friends on Facebook, and everybody else is friends with her on Facebook at work, and we see her traveling every week. So, which part of coming back to work? You don't want to go back to work. We get that. Right. However, we see hence Joseph's point. We see that you called off sick and were at a nightclub tonight. Come on, right. I'm not blind. Right. I see what you're doing, and we also begin to, as we are years in our games of we see that you had your shift up for availability all week, and now you're sick at Friday with diarrhea.
Just happens to be on a Friday.
I am less likely to believe you.
Why is it always a Friday that diarrhea?
Yeah, it's Sushi Thursday. It's taking out so much people.
Greg? So, Chris, tell me about, as far as the restaurant business goes, and you don't have to give names, but if you can give names, it's up to you, but about the person or people that have made the biggest impact on you and taught you the most in your time of need.
Yeah, I won't throw out names because then some people might feel left out. However, there's plenty, but there's one individual specifically that has given me the best advice. I always call him the ultimate entrepreneur. Name is Peter. However, that narrowed some people down. But he's always, anytime I've gone to him for advice, what's his company's worth? What would you do in the situation? He nails it on the head every single time.
Always correct.
100% correct. He just knows the situation. He knows how business works. It's amazing how some people just get it. They understand human nature. Every single thing they'll say. I remember going to this guy when I was really young. I was like, "Hey, I'm looking at buying this restaurant." He goes, "Oh, how much does it make?" I said, "Well, this is the cash flow." He goes, "My guess is this is what the owner's asking for, but this is probably what you could buy it for, and there are some other issues." Totally right. I remember the first time he gave me the best advice of my life. I was doing an event. It's funny because I saw the sticker on Joseph's boxes over there, and it was orange. So I remember I used to run the bars for Orange.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Great event.
We need to bring that back to Indy, by the way.
I was just hanging out with the guy who did it.
Ryan or Adam?
I had questions on that in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that event, it brought people together and made people see something cool, music, art, visual, tilt their head. Jumping back, I'm doing the bars for it, and I'm asking him advice of how to run them, because we're going to have, I want to say that event used to have 3,000 people throughout it, which was a lot of people, and we had a handful of bars. And he said, grab tickets. Sell tickets for cash, include the tip in it, and you can't get robbed in a cash bar. 100% right. Because everybody had to buy a ticket to get a drink. The bartenders knew what their gratuity was. They probably got more, and I hope they did. However, and we knew, because if you ever buy a ticket spool, it's got 2 tickets on each one. So you know exactly what was sold, what wasn't. You started at ticket number 1. You ended it on the spool at 2,000. You sold 2,000. In our experience, was a drink, 2,000 drinks. So we made $2,000, whatever the math was. 100% accurate. If we had sold drinks and had 50 bartenders all with cash, I loved all the people, but however, I don't think the math would have added up. This added up to a T.
It never does.
Hence, moving forward, he's always been right every time I've talked to this guy, and it's a breath of fresh air. It's it's not like your spouse you talk to. We all have somebody we talk to about different things, and he's always right. The guy has led me in the right direction, and even the pandemic, we with the shutdown, March 16th, I remember calling him. We already saw this coming. Fast forward, we saw it coming. Midweek, the week before, March Madness is shutting down. Schools are being sent home. Yada yada yada, and we're all holding on like this isn't going to happen. Like it can't happen in Indiana. And I remember calling him that day and saying, "What do I do? I'm going to switch to full carryout model." Nobody knew what was happening. He goes, "Chris," he goes, "do a full shutdown. None of your employees are going to starve." He goes, "You are, as opposed to pivoting within 24 hours to a whole new business plan, carry out." He goes, "Do a full shutdown. You can control the financial bleeding, and you will also have some money to support a business for the employees to return to when it's time." This is before PPP, anything else. He's 100% right. Wow, like this is in a very difficult situation. It was a very difficult day the next day to tell people that we need to do a full shutdown and there's nothing we can do. You have to go for unemployment, yada yada yada. But he goes, "Don't be the hero and deplete all your funds. Make sure you have a business for them to return to." The guy's a genius.
Yeah. And it worked.
It worked, yeah. Because I would have switched to carry out, and it would have been a mess.
Right.
We did carry out, but that wasn't our business. How do you handle, at that moment, March 16th, we're like, well, nobody knew what was going on. How do we handle, all right, we switched to carry out. Who's answering the calls? Who's doing this? We didn't have, online ordering set up. Who's going to handle the cash? Is this as contagious as we think? Who's going to walk the food to people? Are my employees in danger? However, flipping back, you shut down. The only thing that's owed is utilities and rent and a few other things, but you control your bleeding. If I would have tried to keep open, well, who knows? But we stopped, and it was so mentorship is huge, and it's really good to be able to call whoever it is up or text them or whatnot and get a quick answer and get an honest answer for somebody that gets you, knows your shortcomings, and will give you the real answer that you will actually listen to, because we don't always listen to everybody. Sometimes we don't, I shouldn't say we don't respect, however, we don't always listen to certain people's opinions. And some we do, for whatever reason that is. Maybe our minds work together the same and we understand each other, but it's, so get a business mentor if you ever want to go into business.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's great advice. And you don't know, maybe you guys came through 100% of your staff. Hopefully you didn't lose anybody to COVID. But so far, my office building, those who are vulnerable, we just said, you're 65, you're 72, you're working from home, you are immunocompromised. There's nothing to protect you whatsoever. I don't need to see your face. I can look through a screen, and God bless Zoom.
I know. Love Zoom.
Microsoft Teams, I'm not yet in love with you.
I'm on both of them.
I'm just kind of Zoom got me through some stuff, and at least, we're here. And
What role does your family play during your journey? And let's start with you, DJ Iron Lion.
It's always a factor. I mean, it's basically, and I can say this with a lot of people, everybody wants to be a DJ. And yeah, DJ, in the course of being in the DJ booth, can have a lot of women come and hug him, kiss him on the cheek, give it a phone number. But those women don't stick around when you break down your equipment. They don't stick around when you carry your stuff out. They don't stick around when the bar tries to catch you out. They are gone with some other dude having a great time. So to have one solid woman who puts up with your BS, who comes home, who wakes up and gives you something every now and then,
Yeah.
it's a solid thing. And I tell a lot of guys, if you have a woman, if you're in the industry where you're a performer, performers kind of self-doubt. Like I always said to my wife, I'm like, this is going to be a banger. I play it, nobody likes it, but me and her love the song. So you want somebody who's like-minded, who understands that this is something you need to do, who pushes you to value your craft so that you actually get compensated for your time. Like my wife once told me, like, how much are they going to pay you? I said $300. She's like, I'll pay you $300 to stay home and have sex with me. You're not going out there for $300. I'm like,
That's a deal. I want that up front, though.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I need this in writing. Like, I'm recording, sweetie. Say that one more time. But that's why I say family is in every aspect of a business, because it's a team effort, especially when you have children. You need to know that the person who is there with your children, when you're not there, is not telling them, I'll just say ratchet stuff, or just ridiculous stuff, or just things that you have to unprogram years later down the line. So I just have a great partner. I know I'm married up. I can't speak for everybody, but
we're all hemmed up in this room.
Yeah.
I think so. I know Dan is.
Yep. Chris, tell me about you, man.
Got
Like,
it.
what do you think that your family has played a part in your journey?
I mean, they're everything. They support me, and they allow me to be me. And maybe that's what it is. I mean, every spouse or partner or family needs to recognize and allow people to allow each individual to be themselves. And I am who I am, and I'm as a business owner, entrepreneur, and DJ, and it might sometimes look like you're a selfish individual, and maybe we are with our time and so forth. However, when you have a strong support network at home that you're supporting, and you're also, it's a team effort. It's a team effort, and you have to let individuals be who they are, and when you do, in my situation, and my wife is phenomenal, and kids are phenomenal, it's they understand when I have to work a lot, and they also see the other side where I'm home a lot. And I'm like, this could change anytime. Like, if somebody doesn't show up, if we lose a manager or management, like, I'm back to 7 days a week, 24/7. And that's tough. But they fortunately, by having that support system, they see the good side to it as well. When I've built a good team around me, that I'm home a lot. And this is what the American dream is. But you have to support whoever you are with. So within your family, that you can't limit people. You can't pigeonhole somebody into doing something they don't want to do and working 8 to 5 or whatever it might be. We are who we are, and we're all much happier accepting who we are. And fortunately, I have a family that has accepted me, and and I think it's worked out. I think I'm blessed. My wife is wonderful. I've got 2 beautiful kids, and I'm blessed. I don't go to church. I am blessed. And I've got someone that gets me and understands me and allows me to be me and be very selfish with my schedule and sneak out and sneak back in, where it's not a regular schedule. I don't work 8 to 5, so I'm not home at 5:30. I might be at work for 200 hours straight. And when I have to do that, it is what it is.
Yeah. It takes a true partnership.
100%.
Yeah.